All right, everybody, welcome to Lock Pod. We are Belgium's top-rated podcast and the most dangerous podcast in Indiana.
Season 8, Episode 4. Welcome back.
We forgot about that. Yeah, thank you. I was
back in the house.
Boyne bound.
Nice.
Took my bride to Boyne. Skied for 2 days.
How was the snow?
It was all right, but they're gonna get 6 inches this week. So I'm before my next trip. So
you're ready.
Yeah, I did 20 in Boyne. Keep guys. Hi, good morning, Jill. Nice to see you. Hey, Val, what's up?
Hi.
Hey. Boyne is like
1,000-foot
mountain, and I did 23,000 feet when I was there.
That is aggressive. Like I was thinking about my slopes in Colorado app, and I'm like, I don't know if I did that.
You know. Well, I did like 12,000 first day, 11,000 the second day.
Okay, all right.
But that's
still crazy.
It's like 3 hours.
Did you just up?
There
down,
was nobody
down.
in the lanes, so I'd ski right up to the line.
That helps.
Yeah, dude. Like I was moving. Plus, Boyne's got a new high speed lift.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, man. I listened to the last show. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, but like Kevin had a little anger issue, and I wanted to address that. I don't know.
He
has anger issue right now.
I
Do you hear
love
that?
angry Kevin.
That is not true.
He came in
I was
hot.
not angry.
You came in hot.
I was critical.
Yeah, coming in hot.
Oh.
Kevin, like Kevin's the detail guy on the show. There's no doubt about it. Like today, right before we went on the air, he said, "Hey, at around 7:48, we got to go right into our first set of breaks. Right, it's 7:48.
Not
right
around at.
Right around 7:48.
Well, I mean, why have a clock if you can't use every minute?
Like we don't have a clock in here. We have this sand dial.
I turned that on you. I was like,
That's
you
our
better be
clock.
done with the first segment by the time that rolls through.
So
but-
are the days of our lives.
Right? But like there was a lot of anger. Like Kevin came in. Like I want to point out the whole Friday show, Tuesday show, that wasn't me. That was a guest of ours. Okay. So like I didn't say
You mean
that.
the A-team?
I wouldn't
The insult to Lindsay?
I wouldn't disrespect anybody by saying that. But that came from one of our special guests.
Sure.
That's what our job is,
You
to
got to
make
be
them feel
polite
welcome,
and
right?
nice. I'm sure I agree.
So you come in all pissed off.
Not
'cause, like,
pissed off. I
Yeah.
was just critical. I was like, these guys. Like,
I wasn't pissed off.
Two
just
guys
critical.
I respect, John Cantrell and Phil Talon.
They were
Respect
having
them.
fun.
Respect them. And I'm like, they're, like, for example, John is in court all the time. He's always taking on prosecutors, talking back to him. Phil, I've seen him in meetings with you. He's, wants to make sure that you listen to him, you hear him. He's, can be critical of you. And in here, I was like,
But
crickets,
like it wasn't that
crickets.
big of a deal.
Crickets.
First off, okay, so he calls you guys yes men, saying that you all kiss my ass in here, right? So the fact is, so he points out like this is why Kevin says that, because I made an offhand comment about the new Notre Dame quarterback, and I was excited, and I was like, this guy,
I'm excited.
This guy's awesome. He kicked our ass.
It's going to be awesome.
We didn't lose. He kicked our ass though. Look, he had great games against Notre Dame.
You said he beat you twice.
He beat us.
Never.
I know.
Let's
I
play
know.
the clip.
All right, let's hear what he said.
And in the meantime, we're going to keep you entertained. And I'm going to start talking about Notre freaking Dame.
Oh, yeah.
Notre Dame just got a brand new quarterback yesterday through the transfer portal. It's like free agency in college football, and he's a stud. I watched him beat Notre Dame a couple times, and he's going to become our. It's like that freaking commercial where they play back. You're like, okay, son of a bitch. I did say it.
And
I didn't mean it like that. Like I didn't.
And I agree.
Notre Dame.
He
He's
played
great.
very
He had
well
great
against
games
Notre Dame. All right, fair enough.
And I watched the ACC, unfortunately, because Notre Dame joined the ACC.
Agree.
So I'm familiar with Wake Forest.
I agree.
Okay.
So minor misstep. Okay. I would give you that.
Yeah, but like it was pointed out like it was the freaking crime of the century. They never beat Notre Dame. Wake Forest never beat Notre Dame. I acknowledge, but that guy had good games against
Fair
us,
enough.
Okay,
Good. I agree with you.
That
was
was a
little over the top.
Do you want me to be loose in here? Do you want me
Yes.
to, or worried about every word that comes out of my mouth?
I want loose Tom.
Because like I'm loose. And
I know.
Sometimes I'm not.
I don't
totally
want tight
accurate.
Tom.
So and then I make another comment. Right?
Got
And
that clip,
off the
too.
top of my head, by the way. This is just like interesting fact by
It
the
didn't
mayor.
sound like off the top of your head, though. It sounded like
Was that
I
in the
know
notes?
this.
You know this. That came from the show. We didn't research
Fair
it
enough. Fair
before.
enough. Okay. Fair
All
enough.
right, what did I
Right.
say?
And by the way, I give you credit because I respect your American history.
Right.
Because
So
in
let's
fact,
hear
like,
it.
okay.
All right.
Here we
House
go.
right now because he just wants his over.
Yes.
It's like, you know,
And Mayor, why is it so important to become Speaker?
third in line for the presidency. If you, the president and the vice president get into a plane crash together, the Speaker of the House becomes president, and this has happened before in America. You guys know who that is?
No.
Mike, you know.
Silence.
Boy,
Speaker of the House became the president.
man. Trivia too early in the morning.
Yeah, who?
I don't know.
Gerald Ford. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, he was President Ford.
We need a crickets button.
Okay. He wasn't the Speaker of the House.
Ever.
But first off, I wasn't insinuating he went from number 3 to number 1.
I think it came off that way.
It did come off that way. It wasn't insinuated. I know that. Okay. I did think Gerald Ford was Speaker of the House. My freaking bad. He was the minority leader. My bad. Right? My bad. He was a congressman elected to Congress, and he became the president.
And he was never.
I thought, my bad. I thought he was Speaker of the House. My bad.
I just know that. I know you know American history, and
technically,
so when
he was the minority leader technically, and
he never got. No one ever got elevated from Speaker to President. But you're right.
He was the minority leader. He was appointed the vice president,
yes.
and then became the president when Gerald Ford stepped down.
Which
he was an
his
unfortunate
last election
presentation that just was.
Thank you, Todd Young. Thank you, Senator.
Forgot about that one.
I love it. I love it. That's good
all right.
stuff.
Well,
so anyway, Gerald Ford was elected to Congress, and oh, by the way, and then Kevin had another additional buzzkill yesterday.
What do you mean?
So he comes up to we're doing pre-show.
Yes.
Kevin's like, hey, man, I was doing some research, and you're telling everybody that after this term, you're going to be the longest-serving mayor, and you're not going to be.
God.
And I'm like, what is the matter with you, dude?
No,
like, you're like making your special
I didn't
mission.
say it like that. I
You
said,
did.
No,
And
I
I'm like-
didn't. I said, hey.
So he goes, Tony Rosaworski, and you got elected at the same time. And I was like, son of a bitch. Like, he pointed it out, and I'm like, I have been telling people that.
It was just me and you at the table. I wasn't like
But,
announcing
he made
it to
sure.
a crowd.
If I had a bowl of Wheaties, he would be peeing in them right in front of me. Like,
I just was like, hey, I was thinking about this. Isn't Rosaworski the same year as you? And you're like, hey, man, I think you might be right. Hold on. Oh, fuck, you're right.
Yep, I did say that. Kevin said the first F word today. I thought that was
Pardon me.
So anyway, yeah.
Yes,
Kevin ruined
I
my
apologize.
day.
Well, look, if you, as somebody pointed out, if 3 guys are going to take my place, at least a little pushback to the locomotive.
Yeah, you're right.
Kevin's fact-checking every
Lockpot
episode.
He's fact-checking Lockpot. Like, how are we supposed to have
That's a bad
fun?
idea.
Kevin is fact-checking.
That is a bad idea.
This is not the bastion of truth,
No,
guys. Like,
we know that.
we make shit up sometimes
This is
because
not-
it's entertainment, right?
It's more Pravda than it is.
Good God.
Trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
Trust but verify. Hey, this is factually correct, by the way. I have a story to tell. I checked this factually. I had the police check it, actually, okay? This is true story, and it's a story about our broken judicial system. So we had a situation. I don't know if the local media put it together yet, but I did because I was informed that this is the same guy I was complaining about earlier. Do you guys remember, this is about 2015, if I remember correctly, 2015, 2016, there was a high-speed chase after a stolen car by our Hammond YMCA. And the only reason I say that, it was a big deal because everybody in Hammond works out at the YMCA, and like it was a morning car chase right before school.
Yeah.
Everybody
near
saw this
schools,
car chase.
Elementary schools.
It was like going around a neighborhood, right? So it was like widespread, people knew in the city. And then what happened is we cornered this car, the Hammond Police Department cornered this car, and we just saw a big person driving the car. It was a big male figure, okay? And the male figure was stuck in snow or something, and they were trapped by the cars. And he gunned his car right at a Hammond police officer.
right.
And the Hammond police officer fired bullets at the gentleman to stop the car. It was a clear and present danger to the officer, injuring the person. We find out that the person that stole that car is a 15-year-old kid.
Which was just crazy.
He was a big kid, but still, 15-year-old kid. We put him in juvie, and within like a day or two, the kid was back in school, and I believe it was Highland High School at the time. And I lost my mind as mayor. I'm like, are you serious? This guy stole a car, did a high-speed chase all over the city, lunged at police officers, gets shot. He goes into the juvenile system, and he's in school 2 days later. And I made a point at that time to say, this kid's sitting in this school right now. He tried to kill our police officer 2 days ago, right?
Violent offender.
And so, obviously, anyway, fast forward to now.
Right.
Funny enough, I'm driving down the street.
And I just want to say one thing, because I know this, and this has been an important theme for you, because you're mayor of a city that has, that is big enough to have issues. It's next to Chicago. It's next to Gary. It has spillover crime issues. And you've said time and time again, we need to get tougher on people. We need to get tougher.
I think our judicial system is way too easy on repeat offenders. And this kid is a repeat offender, and he was within a day or two, he was back sitting next to his fellow students at Highland High School. Okay, and I was pissed, and it's like a Hammond police officer will arrest usually the same person 3, 4, or 5 times before they finally get a big term and stay in jail for a couple decades, right? We'll arrest the same person 4, 5, 6 times, right?
Or more.
And it's frustrating for the cops because they're like, "What? I keep arresting the same person, and the judges keep letting this person out, right?" So in this case, when the 15-year-old kid got let out a day or two later, I pissed off some local judges. I was pissed, man. I'm like, this is bullshit. Our system is broken. This kid should be in jail. He tried to kill a police officer, right? So anyway, fast forward to last week. I'm driving my car. There's a high-speed chase. I see a car barreling against traffic coming right at me. I'm on the boulevard up in Whiting, actually. I bail out up in Robertsdale. I bail. I come to the right real quick. This car passes me, and I see the cops like right behind him, right? And I'm like, damn, that guy's going into oncoming traffic. The cops weren't in oncoming traffic. They were staying in their lanes. The guy was gunning it against traffic, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask the cops when this is all said and done who that was. I'm sure they're going to catch him. And then I just go about my day. It wasn't like scary. I saw it coming. I pulled over. He went by me. Okay, he wasn't trying to kill people. He was trying to get away from the cops.
Yeah. And the cops were doing their job and
we caught him. Yeah. We caught the guy in Cal City. Okay, obviously it went into Illinois. I was in Hammond at the time. So I get called back from the chief of police, and he informs me that this is a gentleman that you were complaining about earlier. And I said, what do you mean? He said, so just hear this out. This is the press release that was issued by Hammond Police Department. On January 6th, the Hammond Police Department was notified by a police agency in Minnesota that a suspect wanted in a shooting that occurred in Minnesota was thought to be in Hammond. Hammond Police used Hammond's BlueNet license plate reader system to coordinate a location of the vehicle with the suspect inside. Officers attempted to stop the vehicle, and the vehicle fled from police. The suspect vehicle led police on a pursuit for several miles before crashing in Calumet City. 3 people were inside the vehicle, including the wanted suspect. 2 of the subjects fled the vehicle and were apprehended. The suspect wanted in the shooting was arrested inside the vehicle. They found guns. They found all kinds of other stuff. This is the same kid. This is the same kid that stole a car in 2015, fled from police, got shot at by Hammond Police. The same kid. We caught him again. The only difference in this is he actually tried to kill somebody in Minnesota and is wanted on an attempted murder charge.
Yeah, and put the public at risk throughout Hammond and Cal City.
So basically, because we can't take care of our freaking business in Indiana and put bad guys in jail and keep them there, some poor sap in Minnesota got shot.
Yeah, I mean,
no offense to the gentleman, to the person in Minnesota that got shot, but what if the guy got killed?
That's right.
We're not taking care of business in Indiana. We're letting these violent offenders just walk through the system, and this poor person in Minnesota gets shot and almost killed because we don't do our business here.
Yeah, and I think that there's been a push nationwide to try to take it easier on bail and things like that. And I don't want to we had the juvenile judge on, and we talked about the juvenile system, and I think he explained the constraints they have, and I agree. It's a systemic issue.
I'm not
that needs
mad
to be addressed.
at the juvenile judge.
Yes.
I'm mad at the system.
Yep.
This kid should have been put in jail when he was 15. No. He should have stayed in jail, and if we did our job the right way, because he tried to kill a cop, no person in Minnesota would have been shot. How many thousands of times every week does this happen in Indiana, where we're not taking care of the bad guys, and then ultimately other people are getting shot and injured because we're not doing our job in Indiana?
I mean, I think just some people are just going to be career criminals. And
I agree.
If you recognize that early on, then
do your
that's
job.
How you treat
we can't rehabilitate a 15-year-old that tries to kill a cop. I hate to break it to you. There's certain people, it has to be ingrained upon you in a young age that you're not supposed to flee from cops. You're not supposed to try to kill cops.
Right, you're supposed to listen to the police.
You're not supposed to steal cars.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. What time is it?
7:48.
7:40.
Wow.
Thank
you. See?
It is on the dot. I hate to say it.
It's 7:48.
Oh, shoot. We got to do ads.
Good job, Locomotive.
Pressemer Insurance Agency. The Ron J. Pressemer Insurance Agency has been located for decades right on Indianapolis Boulevard, serving all your insurance needs. They specialize in a wide variety of products and services, including auto, home, business, life, and much more. The Pressemer Agency serves over 1,000 people and businesses in all Chicagoland and the Midwest. Call Ron, Ronnie, or Michael at 219-844-0103.
Oh, is this me?
It's you.
Oh, okay. Cantrell and Cantrell, attorneys at law. Are you injured or in trouble with the law? Give us a call and schedule your consultation today with somebody who's in the court and the jail every day. Call John Cantrell at 219-554-4LAW or visit their website at bettercallcantrell.com. John and his wife Kristen make a great team and are waiting to hear from you.
Tortillas Nuevo Leon is the gold standard in Mexican cuisine throughout the Midwest. Look for Tortillas Nuevo Leon's popular red and white label at your local grocery store and enjoy quality Mexican products made with local expertise. Eli.
Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón. Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia, de todo corazón.
Try Electronics. Try Electronics wants to be your complete communications provider. Try Electronics has been a leader in this industry for more than 55 years. We are dedicated to assisting our clients with their system integration needs. Try Electronics has the expertise and experience to provide superior results for a wide variety of projects. For more information, call Try Electronics today at 1-800-722-6793.
It's time to experience Michelob Ultra with only 95 calories, 2.6 carbs, and 4.2% ABV. It's the perfect way to start the new year and keep those resolutions in check. Whether you're a pro athlete or a daily step counter, the journey is only worth it if you enjoy it. That's why Michelob Ultra brews a light lager that's worth every single sip. So no matter if you're kicking back after a workout or enjoying a day out at the slopes, you're sure to enjoy a great beer. Head over to Cal Brew or the Michelob Ultra websites and social media pages for details on this great family of beers. Enjoy the Ultra lifestyle with beers and cheers responsibly.
Don't forget, everybody, today, after the next segment, we're going to do this segment, ads, and then we're coming back with Adam Wren, who is a reporter for Politico.
National.
He is also he publishes a newsletter in Indiana called Importantville. He is has extensive knowledge on the political scene across the state of Indiana. It'll be a great interview.
It's going to be a great interview. And we've been lucky to have some good interviews. I wanted to thank Senator Melton for coming on. We saw him in Indianapolis this week, and he said he got great response from the interview. So
nice.
That was cool.
A weird thing happened in Indianapolis. Kevin and I went out. I stayed out way later than him.
That never happens.
Way later. I was smoking cigars at like almost midnight.
I had a stomach ache.
Eastern time, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Not midnight real time. Eastern time.
I had a stomach ache.
I took a picture at the bar with me with a big cigar, and I don't smoke cigars, and I sent it to Kevin. I'm like, what's going on here?
He said it's
11:30.
What's that?
I love a
Whoa,
cigar.
all right.
I cannot. I don't like it.
No.
I was trying to be polite.
You're trying to be part of the
guy
game.
that owned the place bought it for me.
Oh, there
and
you
I was
go.
like, because I was the only one not smoking.
Yeah, I needed to sleep, man.
And I was telling
not
everybody
feeling
my
good.
viewpoint on marijuana, that I think that we should be able to smoke marijuana in places like that.
Oh, like a cigar bar.
Yeah.
I bet someday you will.
I agree. We should be able to smoke marijuana and drink drinks and smoke cigars also in the same place.
So
Why not?
But not cigarettes. Or
Why not?
including-
I
I'm
think
just
if you're,
asking.
I
It's a
think if you're
smoking
ever-
bar,
cigarettes,
right?
I think you should, and at one of those places,
Yeah.
at a cigar bar, yeah.
I should be able to smoke marijuana because that's what I prefer to do. And then you have people that prefer to smoke cigarettes. God bless. If you want to smoke a cigar, God bless. And if everybody wants to have drinks, God bless.
And be around smokers.
That's the Indiana I
smokers.
believe in right there. It is. Like, why not? We would make so much money off of that. Like, are we against making money in this state?
I hope not. I think, well, no, they like to have a huge surplus.
The only thing we like to do is let criminals out early. It's like-
Well, and like here, and like we were just, this new marijuana bill. I mean, it's nice that they're floating a marijuana bill, but it's like, it's almost like a
describe what
paper
you're talking
tiger.
about. Okay.
So
there's a new marijuana bill in Indiana.
bipartisan, and I mean, and God loved the legislators.
Am I going to love it?
I don't think so. I don't think you're
Why
going to
is
love
that?
it. So it's a bill that I want to call half-baked. No pun. See? I like that.
I like
right?
it. I prefer full baked.
Follow House Bill 1039 was introduced by State Rep Jake Teschka and co-authored by Bartles, Miller, and Moed. Moed, of course, is a
Justin
friend of
Moed.
ours.
He's a friend of
And
the show.
but the other
We gotta get
reps
him on
are
the
Republican.
show.
He'd be great.
Justin
Talk
Moed's
about
a
this
great-
maybe.
Justin Moet. Okay. Let's put him on the radar.
Yes, let's get him on the radar, Steve, if you're listening.
Yeah.
But no, it basically is like, hey, we're going to set up this cannabis commission. It's going to deal with revenue. It's going to be legal, on and on, but only if the feds take it off the controlled substance list. So it's like,
If the feds take it off the controlled substance list, it's legal.
basically,
Isn't it?
Right?
well, if they actually after level 1
Then it's
controlled
legal.
substance list. I agree. It's Schedule 1, whatever it's called. But I mean, it's weird, right? Because like you think it's not like other states don't have it legal. I mean, right? I mean,
I
what
was
are we
just
at
in Michigan.
19 or 21
When
or
I pull into
33 or
Michigan,
something?
within a couple miles of pulling into Michigan, you'll pass like a dozen marijuana stores.
Within-
and you'll see billboards, brand new buildings built. Like, it's really nice. Like,
well, how
Michigan
about
does
this?
it the right way.
Billboards, like before you get into Michigan.
Yeah.
Like on
billboards in Indiana saying,
hey,
you're only 4 miles from a marijuana, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And so, like, I mean, I appreciate the fact that they're trying to file something, but, like, come on.
Just file the real thing.
Yeah.
For God's sakes. That's the thing about Justin, and I love Justin Moed. If I was him, I wouldn't have put my name on this bullshit bill because it's a bullshit bill. Right? And Justin probably wants his name on there because he wants marijuana legalized. So he's like, hey, at least this is a step in the right direction.
I think that's what he would say.
I imagine that's what Justin would tell us. Okay. And Justin's a great state representative from
let's
Fountain
get him
Square,
on to talk about
which is Indianapolis. I will. Let's do that. We'll reach out to Justin Moed. He's a great guy. He's a friend of the show, a friend of ours. And he's a very interesting person.
So follow House Bill 1039. Let's see if it gets a committee hearing. I think it probably will because it really doesn't, do anything or accomplish anything until the feds do something. It's almost like it's got one of those, what do they call that when there's like all those abortion bills that came in? I forget what they call that, but whatever. Trigger?
Yeah, trigger laws.
So,
right. All right. I hear we have a new segment on the show.
Yes, this is great because this came up when on last it's like John, I love hearing John kind of like distinguish between real conservatism and what he thinks is, I think he would characterize as like GOP light or conservatism light.
Okay.
And so I like hearing John's kind of like bitch of the week.
Let's hear about John's
the quote unquote GOP.
Okay. So for the first few days of January,
is there like a sound bit or anything?
Oh, we need one, John.
Yeah,
we need one.
We do need one.
Yeah.
The banjo might be fitting.
Yeah.
But GOP bitch.
We haven't had the banjo play. We haven't been
on the road.
That sucks.
Yeah,
I love the banjo.
So check this out. The first few days of January, all of us, all of America, all the world had to suffer through the Speaker of the House disaster. Mm-hmm. And we had to all suffer through the politicians and the talking heads going on Fox and CNN, like Crenshaw, McCarthy, MTG, Hannity, saying, we got to figure this out. We got to get to work for the American people. We have so many great things we're going to do. And this, I find, just yesterday, this is one of the first things they come up with. Directing the Fine Arts Board to obtain a bust of President Zelensky for display in the House of Representatives.
Sponsored by a Republican.
Wow.
Exactly. That's the point.
And that's going to be in the in where that one part of the
Statutory Hall?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, why?
This is them getting to work for the American people.
Man,
and it's House Resolution 10, the 10th thing filed.
You realize 12 months ago, nobody in the world knew very few people in the world knew who Vladimir Zelensky is 1 year ago. And then Russia invaded Ukraine.
Except for Zelensky was on the phone call with Trump.
Right.
That'd been maybe the first time
that's
I knew who he was.
That's why I said very few people.
Sure, okay.
Exactly why.
Did you watch Letterman interviewed him on Netflix?
Really?
Ooh.
Was it good?
Yeah.
What do they call that show? Like
what's crazy?
The next best guest or something.
I'm always impressed when you talk to European people and they speak in English
like so well that like.
And he's like very well spoken in English. And I'm I couldn't say hello.
There aren't Americans that are that well spoken in English.
I know.
Right?
I know. And you hear these, and then they have to do it in our language because we're too dumb to do it in their language, right?
Like go to Ukraine and get on there.
That's why I'm instantly suspect of anybody from the EU.
Yeah,
like more languages.
Come on,
than I do.
You speak better English than me.
That's right. I don't like this guy.
Hey, don't rip our Belgian, audience.
No. I'm sorry.
Be careful.
Belgium. Love you, Belgium.
But there's
good evening, Belgium.
There's so many things going on in America. Whatever side you're on, things are kind of bleak. There's just a lot of BS going on, and this is what the Republicans come up with. And by the way, among a growing part of their base is concerned about the blank checks to Ukraine.
Agree with
that's
you.
What right, and you even brought that up in the last show, John.
I agree,
yes.
John. That's the funny part is
the irony.
You would think it would be the Democrats that are putting up a bust, right?
So is it common to have like non-Americans in that?
Yes, I think there are. Like
I bet Lafayette's in there. Right?
I was going to say Lafayette. Yeah. I think the who's the Polish general? Kosciuszko.
Oh yeah, I bet he is.
I wonder if he's in there.
Kosciuszko.
Sorry.
Kosciuszko.
I'm saying it like a Hoosier. This is what I get for campaigning around the state. I say it Kosciuszko.
That's what they say in EC. Right.
Yeah.
All right, there was John's bitch of the week.
Thank you, John. We definitely need audio.
I think that's legit, bitch.
No. We need audio for
There's
that,
a lot I can complain
about.
Oh,
don't worry.
Well, you're gonna have to save up. Save up.
We're gonna have a spin-off podcast.
Just John bitching.
Hour 2 is you.
Hey, one of the show's favorite people, Todd Rokita.
Oh boy, I love this.
We have a story about Todd Rokita, and we love Todd Rokita stories. I personally, and I wish, by the way, I know Todd listens. Todd, when are you gonna jump into the GOP primary? for governor.
Ooh, I want to talk to
Todd Rokita.
We got to talk to Adam Wren
You've
about
been
that.
setting the stage for a run for GOP governor, Todd Rokita, for
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Right? And now that everybody's raising money and getting active, you're sitting back?
Got my letter right
Come
here.
on, Todd Rokita.
What about senator?
Oh, well, that's what
gotta
I
be
want to ask
wealthy.
Adam Wren about this. I
Well,
wanna
yeah,
see
we are
what
going to
he's-
ask.
where
Adam's
he's
going to give
going.
us.
I wanna
Because
know what
I'm
he
hearing
thinks.
persistent rumors that Mitch Daniels, former president of Purdue, former governor of the state of Indiana, he's a very wealthy gentleman also, that he's going to run. And if he does, I think that he'll be tough to beat, because my impression of running for U.S. Senate is you got to be wealthy. That's my impression.
And you've been
Mitch
through
Daniels,
it. You've been through it.
Mitch Daniels satisfies that requirement. He's wealthy. He'll raise money. I think Mitch Daniels would be a tough person to beat with. I wouldn't want to.
I wonder if he does it.
Well, when I
We're going
read
to talk
this
to Adam
tweet-
Wren about this too.
When I read this Rokita tweet, there
Oh.
was a part of me that thought, man, he's got a flavor.
Running for governor?
No, for Senate. I
Oh,
actually
maybe.
thought. Yeah.
So this is just crazy. So Governor Holcomb does the State of the State, which proposes the largest one-time influx of funding for schools, including at least guaranteeing a minimum $40,000 for teachers' salary, an average minimum of $60,000 per teachers, and getting rid of the textbook fee. Rokita's response: a better way to improve reading and education, Governor, is not pushing more money at the problem. We should use this precious time to actually, in all in caps, teach our kids, and not all in caps, indoctrinate them into hating America and convincing them to change their sex.
That's what we do.
Yeah, and
That's
then,
what teachers do.
Well, and then the crazy
They're
thing,
constantly like, "Oh, Johnny, when are you going to be
Jane.
Yeah, right.
You going to
Come
be
on,
Jane.
Rokita, you freaking
and
fool.
then the Times questions him on that,
Right.
And this is,
Which
by
is,
the way,
by the way, what the media is supposed to do.
and it's his hometown paper who loves Todd Rokita.
It's the Munster Times, let's be honest,
They
right?
talk about Todd Rokita. They always say a Munster native.
Right.
They love him.
But Todd was probably mad at the reporter, because I imagine the reporter that's asking him questions is Dan Carden.
yeah, I mean, whoever it was.
Dan Carden usually does state, and Dan Carden, I think, I would never presume Dan Carden, but he's usually
the State House reporter.
And yeah, I think if I had to guess, I think Dan is probably leans left. If I had to guess, and I don't know, I don't have these conversations with Dan. Okay,
I just think it's amazing that like his hometown paper, he goes and rips, and this is hilarious. They ask him, hey, give me one example of a school system in Indiana that is teaching anti-American or teaching
Dan said that
transgenderism.
to him?
I don't know who it was. A reporter from the Times
It had
did.
to be Carden.
And Rokita's response, instead of trusting him, he said only the woke, slanted media like the NWI Times would pretend grooming, CRT-driven racial division, transgender extremism, and the Hate America First curriculum in our schools does not exist.
Let me tell you something about the
How
NWI.
does that fix reading?
Right?
No part of this.
Yeah.
How does that
makes
help
sense.
How does that go
None of it
against
makes
teachers'
sense.
salaries?
If he read, if students read even the woke Times, they would learn to read.
Still
That's-
reading.
right? You're reading.
I've never thought to myself that the NWI Times is a woke, slanted media.
Let me tell you something. I know the people in charge of the Times, and they're Republicans.
they're
to
not
a
woke.
person.
They're not
to a
woke.
person, they're Republican.
Not woke.
Like that newspaper is in a Democratic part of the state. I acknowledge, but anybody that knows anything, including Todd Rokita, knows that it's a right newspaper. It's a Republican leaning newspaper. Always has been, even when it was the Hammond.
Oh
Times.
yeah, even back.
It's always been
your
Republican.
Your dad was
Right.
involved in it.
It's always been a
Forever.
Republican paper. It's not woke. It's not slanted left. Todd Rokita, you idiot. You know this too, because you're from the region. For God's sakes, Todd Rokita.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep calling him an idiot and stuff, because I want him to run for governor.
Oh,
Todd
that'd be-
Rokita, run for governor.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna do ads.
Hold on. I want to
Yeah.
ask one thing
Yeah,
before
yeah.
we do ads, because like the thing, and I'm going to ask Adam Wren about this.
Yep.
One of the things I'm shocked about in politics right now, and Kevin and I just back from a trip down to Indianapolis, is how the Republican Party has turned on Eric Holcomb and Suzanne Crouch.
Oh, it's amazing.
Dude, it is toxic. Like, you talk to people that Governor Holcomb is a good person, and Governor Holcomb's done a good job.
I think he always has Indiana's best interests
I
at
do.
heart.
And I'm not, like,
and I
used
don't mean
to
I
sticking
agree
up
with
for-
him all the time.
No, I don't.
Right.
I don't. And Suzanne Crouch, nice person.
Yeah, I don't agree with her all the time.
Right. But, like, these are nice people. And they're, like, hardworking, honest, trying to do the right thing. In the Republican Party, you can't find two people in the Republican Party that will support their governor or the lieutenant governor.
They've turned on him like
It's so shocking to me. And then I was talking to a Republican buddy of mine last night, Friendly Sons, and he was like, I'm not voting for that guy. I'm not voting for Suzanne. No way. I'm with Braun. Like, all these people are jumping in with Braun.
Is it just because they think he's the front runner and he's got money?
I think Braun's one of the biggest jerks in government, honestly. And it's surprising to me how the Republican Party is just folding in line right behind him. It's surprising to me.
That's going to be an interesting
Braun's
going to
win that primary. He's going to win that primary. That's why Rakita's not jumping in, because he knows Braun
beat him once.
Braun's going to beat him twice if Rakita jumps in, but I still think you should do it, Todd Rakita.
Let's see it. I want to see this.
Come on, man. You've been setting this up for years.
Battle Royale.
If you wimp out now, you'll never be able to live with yourself, Todd Rakita. Never.
All right. Everybody stay tuned. Adam Wren's holding. We're going to get to ads, and we're going to get back with Adam Wren, Politico reporter, national Politico reporter.
Stay tuned for Adam Wren right when we get back from these ads. First off, Powering America. Are you looking for a new career in 2023? If you are a person who enjoys working with your hands in a challenging and ever-changing environment, an electrical apprenticeship might be for you. Earn a competitive wage while you gain valuable experience. Did we mention employer-paid benefits, including health insurance, pension, and annuity? If so, visit apply697.com. That's APPLY697.com. POW! Sponsored by the Powering America.
Rogers Roofing. When you want the best for your home and family, trust the best in the business, Rogers Roofing. Rogers Roofing has transformed homes in Northwest Indiana and Chicagoland for more than 54 years, providing quality roofing, siding, gutters, and windows, all backed by the best warranties in the industry. To learn more and to schedule your free consultation, visit rogersroofing.com. That's ROGERS roofing.com, or call 219-933-9145 today. That's rogersroofing.com, 219-933-9145. 9145. And remember, at Rogers Roofing, excellence is expected every time.
Miss Print Printing. They specialize in delivering the highest quality signs and printing on time and under budget. Oh, I thought you were throwing it. No. Miss Print's
Don't anticipate.
Miss Print's experience in technology allows them to offer custom, commercial, on-demand printing and sign solutions.
There it is.
I was not expecting it then. Rick Balzenberger and his team have served Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana for over 30 years. They have 2 convenient locations to serve you in Munster and Hammond.
Byway Brewing. Byway Brewing is a family-friendly microbrewery with a spacious tap room and an outside patio. Our brewing equipment offers a unique backdrop for your private event, like weddings, reunions, or corporate parties. We are conveniently located just off of 8094 at the Kennedy Avenue South exit. Come on by and enjoy Byway's award-winning beers and unbeatable menu. For more information, check out bywaybrewing.beer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my proud pleasure on LockPod, Left of Center Podcast, to introduce a guest that's been with us before. To remind you, he grew up in Ohio, attended soccer, had a soccer scholarship to Indiana Wesleyan. So he's D1. Is that D1? D2? We'll ask him in a second. Went to Northwestern Graduate School, Northwestern Journalism School. He's a marathoner. He writes in Portonville, which is it's a
LockPod subscribes to it. We're a
LockPod
subscriber.
subscribes to, and he's currently working for Politico. This is a national reporter named Adam Wren. Welcome to the show again, Adam. It's good to see you.
Good to be with you guys. I'm proud to be back. I didn't know if I was going to be invited back on after the midterms.
Get out of here. I got a thick skin, buddy. We all do. And so do you, right?
Yeah, have to.
You have to. This is not, like I always say, politics isn't tiddlywinks, right?
It's not beanbag.
It is not beanbag. Cornhole, right? That's what they call it out here, right?
That's right, yeah.
Do you guys in Ohio, is it beanbag or is it cornhole?
I haven't lived in Ohio for a long time, but I think like generally accepted, the Midwestern term is cornhole.
Okay.
I think it's got to be cornhole because like on ESPN, it's cornhole championship.
Oh, is it? Nice.
Yeah, if you're watching.
Yeah. So Indiana Wesleyan, is that D1, D2, D3?
Actually, it's NAIA.
Oh, nice. I coached baseball in NAIA for...
Yeah, NAIA is interesting because they don't have the same restrictions or regulations as D1 through D3. So we had on our team like several members of the Jamaican national team.
Whoa.
So,
how cool.
So competition is pretty like uneven in the NAIA. You may like play like former national team members who are in their mid-20s trying to get a college education, and then like you turn around and play a team that's terrible. So
position,
it was fun. It brought me to Indiana, and once I got here in 2007, really sort of fell in love with the state unexpectedly. I didn't expect to really like love Indiana, but we briefly left, my wife and I, in 2008 or 2009 rather, to go to outside of Chicago where I studied at Northwestern, got my master's in journalism, and then we moved back to the Indianapolis area, and I feel like I know Indiana now better than I ever knew Ohio. Because I was only there really until I was maybe 18 or 19.
That's like me with California, Adam. Like I haven't been back to California since I left at 18, and You know, obviously I grew up and was, but like, yeah, I know what you mean.
Although I say like Northwestern Ohio, like I don't know if you're near Toledo or anything, but that reminds me of the region a lot. You know, I mean,
I'm actually from Northwest Ohio, a small town called Bow Fountain, sort of just a straight line across from Fort Wayne off Route 33. There's we're known for a Mad River Mountain, which is a ski hill and not actually a mountain. There are no I didn't know if you guys know.
It's like Boyne. It's like Boyne. It's like one hill.
Mountains in Ohio, surprisingly. And we're also home to the shortest concrete street in America and the first concrete street in America.
Look at this. What we didn't know.
I've never fact checked that. I don't know how.
Kevin will do it for you.
Too good to fact check. Too good to fact check.
Yeah, Kevin fact checks me on Lockpot all the time.
We try to just keep it real here. So, Adam, welcome back, though. And one of the things that I think it's cool that you've done is you went from what was it, Indiana Business or Business? What was when you were in Indiana?
Indianapolis Monthly.
There you go. And then you went to Politico, and so it's kind of cool to know a reporter that we knew in Indiana ended up going national to Politico. And I know even though you've continued to cover Indiana items, you also do national stuff. So, but I know the mayor wants to talk to you a little bit about Indiana politics and what you see coming ahead, because 2023, of course, is municipal, but everyone's already talking about 2024.
Yeah. Adam, you know what's shocking? I was just mentioning right before we brought you on is it's shocking to me how much the Republican Party has turned on the Governor Eric Holcomb and Suzanne Crouch, who's running for governor also. Now that Eric Holcomb is termed out, it's totally shocking. I don't think he's that bad of a guy. I don't think he's done that bad of a job as governor. What's your impression?
Are you hearing the same type of stuff?
Yeah, what's been fascinating to me this week and last week with session starting back up in Indianapolis is, the governor rolled out his legislative agenda, and you look at these press releases that you get from the various legislative caucuses, the Democrats, the Senate Democrats, the House Democrats, and all of their comments on the governor's agenda is like, we agree with the governor.
I've never seen that.
This might be a little bit late, they'll say, or we wish you would think bigger, but like we think the governor's headed in the right direction. And you read the Republican responses, and they're not quite the same tone or tenor. I do think if you look at polling from Ball State University and others, Governor Holcomb is still broadly popular among his Republican base. But when it comes to a smaller group of grassroots Republicans, he is really sort of persona non grata right now.
So why isn't Todd Rokita running for governor right now? I mean, that's shocking.
Or
right?
What is he going to run for, if anything?
I think Todd Rokita is in a perpetual state of campaigning.
Agree.
And it doesn't matter what the office is or when the office might become available. He's really objectively taken the job of Attorney General and has sort of turned it into a permanent campaign. Now, some of the things that he's done have gotten, good and bad national attention, obviously on the abortion issue, going after the doctor who performed the abortion across state lines of the Ohio 10-year-old who was unfortunately raped and came here because of Ohio legislation. He's gotten some tough press on that. Him going after TikTok, the New York Times covered that. And in some cases, you can sense sort of a positive reaction on that regulatory front. But, it is interesting. He does seem to be comfortable at Attorney General, and you really haven't heard much from him, about seeking the Senate race or the gubernatorial race. And I really think this goes back to his experience running for Senate against Mike Braun. In 2018, he doesn't want to run in a race where you can go against a self-funder.
Totally
Mayor,
agree.
you know what it's like to have to raise money for a Senate race. He really just, doesn't want to do that. And why do that in a competitive primary when you can get all the national attention you want in his seat? He can be on Fox News in a moment's notice if he'd like to be, or Newsmax, the conservative Republican outlet. And so really he's got kind of the best of both worlds. He doesn't have to travel a ton. Back and forth to Washington. So I think he's just sort of biding his time right now.
And even you think same thing for Senate? Like you don't think he'd run for Senate? Because right now the Senate race is what? Banks, Sparts?
Yeah, I don't think there's an opening for Rokita in the Senate right now. We saw the Club for Growth yesterday blast Mitch Daniels in an ad, a 5-figure ad that's going to run statewide Sunday morning in Indiana, saying he's not conservative enough. The Club for Growth, the Club for Growth is likely, I've been told, to back Banks in the race.
I would see that.
That's sort of Rokita's natural constituency. So I really don't see him, running in that race. And of course, right now, there's not a lot of oxygen in the gubernatorial race with three candidates. He could get to the right of Braun, to the right of Eric Doden, probably not to the right of Suzanne Crouch. But I just don't see an opening for him right now. And, unless there's a major shakeup or stumble in one of those two races, I don't see him looking at it.
See, the thing that makes me think he'd be more interested in governors because the money, and I imagine he's got some money as a statewide attorney general. He could use every penny of that in a governor's race. Whereas, talk to Tom McDermott about you can't use any statewide money to run for U.S. Senate.
But you got Braun who could just be like, well, I'm going to put more in. You know what I mean? Like Braun could self-fund the governor's race.
That was my take after my race is, unless you're wealthy, you shouldn't be running for U.S. Senate. And that was a major obstacle I ran into is just you can't raise money in a race like that.
And I agree. Adam, it's interesting. It looks like Banks is like in it to win it. I mean, if he's got, if he's got these guys, he's probably, I would think it's some form or fashion has something to do with that ad about Daniels. Because it looks like, I thought I saw a quote in Portonville where he said, the poll numbers released by Daniels and Sparks are only going to embolden him to run. So
yeah. I think this is pretty right now. I'm not much of a handicapper, but I would pretty much put money on Banks as the front runner right now. I mean, he has started out in Congress as a Trump skeptic back in 2016 when he was first elected, was very skeptical about Trump, released a scathing statement about Trump's Access Hollywood video. And, now he says that after watching Trump in office, he's become a convert, has really built up a friendship with Donald Trump Jr. And ran for House Majority Whip last fall, narrowly lost that. And so I think he's pretty much locked in on this Senate race. Some people were chattering about him as a possible unity candidate for Speaker of the House when Kevin McCarthy was struggling to lock up votes. But you could really see he didn't really make a move. He did get one vote for Speaker of the House in the early rounds, but he's really focused on Senate. And, Victoria Spartz is sort of I'm told shying away from a possible Senate run. And so really you've got Daniels and Banks, and that could be the most interesting Republican Senate primary in the country because you really have an MRI of where the Republican Party and the Republican base is at if they run against each other.
Without a doubt.
That's sort of a Trumpist lane, and sort of the old guard Republicanism of Mitch Daniels, who's a former Reagan political operative, came up under Dick Lugar when he was mayor of Indianapolis, and so it's fascinating. I'm told Daniels is going to be making a decision here in the next couple of weeks about whether or not he's going to run, and it'll be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be quite the litmus test. And it'll be right here in Indiana if that happens.
Something funny happened to me over Christmas. I wanted to get your take on it, Adam. I was at a Christmas party. I'm not going to get into too much detail because the person that was talking to me I do not want to expose because he was being a gentleman. And we were talking, and he works for Braun, okay? And this gentleman was talking to me, and it was awkward. We were at the same table. And it was just awkward conversation because I just got done running for U.S. Senate, and there's people talking about me running for governor, and then his boss is clearly running for governor. And so I was like, hey, what's going on with the governor's race? And I was shocked at how cocky he was about everything. He was like, Suzanne Crouch has no chance against us. I don't care how much she raises. She's dead. Eric Doden, nobody knows him. He sucks. I couldn't believe the cockiness coming from him. It was like, and then he was like, I'm going to be the executive. I'm going to be the head of economic development. I'm going to be doing this. And I was just like, they're basically measuring the curtains out at the governor's office. And I was thinking to myself, is this really what Indiana wants? They want a gentleman that's just going to buy the office, and his whole team is like a year before they take office is talking about who's getting what position. And I was just stunned at that, Adam.
Do you think Braun's that much of a front runner in the governor's race?
The polling says that he is. The polling says that he significantly is, even in Suzanne Crouch's native Evansville, Braun is outrunning her by a significant margin.
Wow.
Now, granted, go back to 2018, and when Braun entered the race, he was polling in the single digits, and ended up, beating Luke Messer, a sitting representative, and Todd Rokita, a sitting representative. So I don't know that we can put that much stock in polling. But, all of these candidates right now, Eric Doden, the Fort Wayne businessman, Suzanne Crouch, the lieutenant governor, and Mike Braun, the sitting U.S. senator, they're all right about $3 million cash on hand, almost 2 years before this primary. And so this is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. My sense is it's gonna get ugly, maybe not in a reciprocal way from each of the candidacies, but this is going to be a tough race. And, Republicans haven't had an open race like this in the Senate or the gubernatorial race for a long time. 2024 will be 20 years since Mitch Daniels first won the governorship, and it'll be 20 years of Republican rule in Indiana in the governor's office. And so Republicans in Indiana aren't familiar with this type of infighting that they're going to see, and it'll be fascinating to watch. It's really anybody's guess as to what happens.
Okay.
I was just going to say, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask the big question about the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Are we extinct? I mean, seriously, obviously I got off the road and I worked my ass off and I got with 39% of the vote. And, my immediate instinct was this state is never going to elect a Democrat. And obviously, I've come around since then. And not that I think that Indiana's going Democrat anytime soon. It's if we don't work, if people like myself aren't willing to put in the work, it's never going to get better. But I know that the national media, and I'm not talking about you, Adam, I'm talking nationally, the media is looking at Indiana like it's just not in play anymore. It's just gone too far to the right. Democrats aren't going to be successful here. Are you able to talk about that? Or?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. And I was going to ask you the same question. I am right now working on the Importantville Democratic power rankings for governor for 2024, and I don't really know how to rank everybody. I mean, you have yourself, you've got possibly Destiny Wells looking at it, you have Jennifer McCormick looking at it.
I would put Hogsett in there too.
Yeah, sure. Hogsett, maybe Joe Donnelly. I mean, Hogsett has $3.2 million cash on hand, which is more than any of the Republican challengers right now. And even though he says he's running for mayor, and I take him at his word, there could be a moment where, national Democrats, the DGA, for example, put a little pressure on him to give it a look. Not that he'll, consider it. But, I don't know how to rank some of these contenders. Their strengths and weaknesses each have. But in a red state like Indiana, I'm not sure what to make of it. I do think that for as a journalist who's nonpartisan, I do think for the health of our state's government, it's important to have an energetic and competitive Democratic Party. Because I think government works best when you have something close to parity between the two parties. And so I am concerned for the health of our government. And I think it's incumbent on Democrats, just as a taxpayer and as a citizen and as a journalist, to be competitive. I think one of the interesting signs that I saw looking at polling in December, Mitch Daniels' pollster, Christine Matthews, his longtime pollster, released a poll showing that, older Hoosiers have really sort of started to sour on former President Donald Trump. His approval ratings have taken a hit. And so I do think there's an opportunity there for not only Republicans who may run against, the former president, as Mike Pence is doing in 2024. I do think there's an opportunity there for Democrats to exploit that dissatisfaction with the Trump direction of the party. And so this is, sort of a cliche, but a lot can change in 2 years. Things shift all the time. It wasn't that long ago that Barack Obama won Indiana. And it wasn't, that long ago that David McIntosh, who released this ad attacking Mitch Daniels yesterday, lost by 15 points to Frank O'Bannon in 2000. And so, the winds of politics change constantly. But yeah, it's looking tough, and I'm concerned. if I'm a Democrat, I'm concerned that no Democratic candidates have announced either for Senate. And I'm not hearing, any names at all, hardly. Maybe one name on the Democratic side for Senate. And I'm hearing, some names at the gubernatorial level, yours included. And you've, of course, have built more of a statewide support, a base of support after your Senate run last year. And so I'm fascinated to see how this all unfolds. I mean, do you think, what does the path look like for you to win statewide in 2024?
I think to win statewide, because we were talking November. First off, I think the Democratic Party needs a vigorous primary for governor, a vigorous primary, like interesting, like the Republican primary is going to be, so that people are paying attention and we get all parts of the state working towards your candidate. And that means if I lose the primary, believe it or not, Adam, I would rather lose in May than lose in November. And I think one of the weaknesses in our party, and I've seen the party operate for the last 20 years, we always protect the incumbent. And sometimes we're protecting weak candidates.
Or the chosen primary person.
Right. And sometimes the person we're protecting is not a vote getter. And that hurts the entire state, because if we have a congressperson or we have a mayor, like in Hammond, if somebody wants to oppose me in Hammond in a primary, God bless. Because if I'm not doing my job, that hurts the entire party. So when I hear names like, Destiny thinking about running, when I hear Jennifer's going to run, it doesn't faze me a bit, Adam, because I think that a vigorous Democratic primary for governor is going to help our party in November.
So let me put you on the spot here.
I love it.
Rank these Democratic gubernatorial candidates in terms of ability to win a primary in 2024.
What's the scale?
No, just one through however many candidates there are. I mean,
okay. Who's the candidates?
So Destiny Wells, Jennifer McCormick, Tom McDermott, Joe Hogsett, Joe Donnelly. Am I missing anybody?
No, I like it. Okay.
All right, go for it.
Joe Hogsett.
5 through 1. 5 being the least likely to win a Democratic primary in May of 2024.
Oh, this is rough.
Man, you got to rank yourself. Wow.
I do. Well, I mean, I'm going to be biased.
Can we put Adam Wren as a candidate?
Yeah, right. I'm gonna put Joe Hogsett as the most likely to win a Democratic primary statewide, because he's got the money. He's been doing it a long time. Okay, Joe was the chairman of the Indiana Democrats when I became mayor, and I became mayor 20 years ago. So Joe's got old school connections.
Won a statewide race before.
Yeah, he's got old school connections across the state, so he's definitely number one. Okay, I'm going to put myself at number 2, not because I'm cocky, because I got connections. I'm recently known. 700,000 people voted for me statewide. Now, after that, we got Jennifer.
I see Wren typing for his next article right now.
Now, listen, if the rankings, if your power rankings come out identical to this, you got to have like a footnote credit here.
Yeah. So now I got Jennifer. I got Destiny.
Joe Donnelly.
Right. Oh my goodness, I put myself above Joe Donnelly.
Oh boy.
All right, I'm gonna knock myself down a rank.
Tom's getting a call from the Vatican right now.
I'm putting Joe Donnelly at number 2. Okay, and the reason Joe Donnelly's not number 1 is because Joe Donnelly's position on pro-choice, pro-life. Joe Donnelly's pro-life as a Democrat. I think that's tough now, and I've been very apparent with that. I put myself at number 3. I'm Switzerland in this case.
There you go.
No offense to Destiny, but I'm putting Jennifer McCormick at number 4. Jennifer McCormick below me because I think that she has a tougher time in the Democratic primary, but Jennifer McCormick above Destiny because Jennifer McCormick was a statewide candidate. And Destiny, all due respect, I put her at number 5 in that list. I think Destiny's an amazing candidate, an amazing person, though. And it's no disrespect to her. I'm just being, trying to do my best.
I think that's an interesting field. I think that's interesting.
Do you think Destiny should give AG a look?
Yes.
On
I'd love to see her.
I absolutely do.
I'd love to see her.
In fact, I'll be honest with you. If I was a betting man, that's what I'd be betting on Destiny. And she's never told me that. Destiny and I are friends, and I donated tons of money to her campaign. I believe her. I think she would be an excellent candidate for AG, and I think that would be right in line with her passion. She's a passionate person, and I think that's right in line with her passion.
That'd be a great race.
That'd
be a great ticket. Oh, man.
She'd give him hell.
Oh yeah. Destiny would tear his butt up.
She would give him hell.
So what do you think of my list, Adam? Was that solid?
I mean, I can see it. I agree with Joe Hogsett. Joe Donnelly has won statewide before. But like you say, he is pro-life, and that's going to be tough in a primary. He's probably a stronger general election candidate than he is a primary candidate. I don't know where to place Jennifer McCormick right now. I think some people would have her number 1 on the list. because I think they see her as someone who is the most likely to definitely run statewide. She has
agree.
An exploratory committee is already accepting donations. But I do think that she will have a tough time in a primary, with her past, political affiliations, and that's something that recently that I tried to get her to answer for in an interview that I did with her in Importantville. I think Destiny, in some versions of this list, I have Destiny tied with you, because I think you're both, capable candidates. You showed a lot of work ethic on the campaign trail. But I can see your rationale here. I think some people would have Destiny pretty high up on their list. I think some people might have Joe Donnelly number one. So it's really kind of a tough.
That's a good question. We should go into that.
I was wondering about. I was just going to ask you, Adam, because I thought your interview with Jennifer McCormick was interesting in Importantville, and it just seemed it almost came off. And well, first of all, it looked like you basically wanted to make sure that you quoted her. Like it was almost like here's what I asked her and here's what she said. Yeah. And I think, to me, I was thinking he did that maybe for a reason, because I think you wanted to make sure it came off as it did when you talked to her. And to me, I don't know if she was unprepared for the questions, but there was a lot of I don't know, I'm not sure.
I got it right here. You want me to read some off?
It was just, I would. But and I'm also just curious on Adam's take once you read off the questions on kind of the tenor of the interview, because I didn't know that didn't necessarily come off in print. So go ahead, Tom.
Okay, this is Adam. How old were you when you first started voting? This is Jennifer. I voted when I was young. I mean, I don't know if it was every single year, I'll be honest with you, but I voted pretty consistently. Adam, do you remember the first president you voted for? Jennifer, I don't know. This is Adam. Going back a few presidential cycles, did you vote for George W. Bush? This is Jennifer. Honestly, I don't. I do remember voting for President Obama because I understood the historical impact and that I thought it was very exciting. And then did you stay a Democratic voter in 2012? I did. And in 2016, who did you vote for? I was a Clinton voter, but I was registered, obviously, when I ran as a Republican. I was registered as a Republican. I spent my entire career teaching kids appropriateness and that character mattered, blah, blah, blah. And then she said, basically, I thought some of the Trump policies were decent. But I was also over damage in my what Trump policies were decent. Adam said when he was in office, some of the fiscal things were helpful.
And she said I'm not going to go into a laundry list. And then he asked her
name one
thing you disagreed with Hillary Clinton about. I'd rather not say. On the state level, do you remember the first governor? I don't know, to be honest. In 2016, when you're on the ballot, who'd you vote for as governor? I don't remember.
This is real?
Yeah. So that's why I read it, but I want to know from your take, because you were on the phone with her or whatever, how did that come off, or how did
well, in Importantville, one of the things that I try to do is to and I've moved more to this since I started in Importantville in 2018, but I've tried to just publish more question and answers because there's no analysis. It's just me asking straight questions, straight answers, and transcribing the answers word for word, maybe editing out some repetitive stuff for length and clarity. But I think that is one way to sort of gain back the trust of readers who may be skeptical about journalists and who may think that there is a bias that journalists have in one direction or another. So I think these question and answers are ways to cut all that out, to cut the analysis out. And, whether it's a Republican like Diego Morales, who I questioned last year in one of these similar question and answers in Portonville at a moment he was coming under a lot of scrutiny, or whether it's this interview with a Democrat named Jennifer McCormick, I try to ask, tough, probing questions to both Republicans and Democrats alike. I didn't go into this interview with Jennifer McCormick thinking that I was going to ask, all of these questions. I did want to sort of establish early in the interview what her political history is, and I thought that was important to do because she is a party switcher. She switched from being a Republican statewide candidate in 2016 to now a potential Democratic statewide candidate in 2024, and that is not a common thing.
No.
Particularly in our divided politics right now. It was more common in the past, but in the year 2016 and the Trump era, having someone switch from Republican to Democrat, and not just anybody, but someone who has been on a statewide ballot. That's really uncommon. And so I wanted to establish her political philosophy. One of the questions I ask almost every person in political interviews is like, what is your first political memory? How were you raised? Was your family Democrat or Republican? And as we progressed in this interview, I was sort of taken aback without editorializing, because I remember I'm much younger than Jennifer McCormick, but I remember every person, particularly at the presidential level, who I voted for. I mean, it happens.
And governor.
Yeah, and governor. Right. I could tell you every governor I voted for.
That's going to be one of my questions. Who'd you vote for, Adam, in 2016? Well, I don't want you to answer that.
I do think I don't vote in primaries as a journalist, but I do vote in general elections. And I'd be happy to have my my voting record come out if it was ever leaked or anything like that, because I think readers would see sort of a thoughtful nonpartisan person.
So can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
I think that goes back with the interview with Jennifer. It goes back to show what we were talking about earlier, is she realizes that if she's going to run for governor, that her weakness, quote unquote, I'm not saying she's weak, I'm saying her weakness is with Democratic primary voters. So when you're asking her tough questions like, who did you vote for in 2016? Who did you vote for with governor? She doesn't want to come out and say, I voted for Trump or I voted for Mitch Daniels, because if she does, she loses Democratic voters, right?
Right.
Yeah. So instead, she knows
she has to get through the primary.
Right.
So she's kind of like
sort of proves everything we talked about, is like her answers were like guarded as far as she wants to not piss off Democrats.
Yeah, I think the Importantville article is going to be important down the road.
You got to think too, like if you switch from Republican to Democrat, you're probably right on the edge. You're not like left Democrat.
Right. And you're not right.
You
right
might find that Holcomb's more liberal than her.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that the interesting thing about this, Adam, think about it. Jennifer and Holcomb fought like crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she switched parties because of Holcomb and his agenda. And now the Republican Party is rejecting Holcomb because he's too left.
Whoa.
So where is Jennifer in this? It's like, holy crap, if you can't get a
See what happens when you have a supermajority?
Yeah. It's fascinating to me because I do think that like she could make the argument that like, look, the average Hoosier, maybe they can't recall every single person they've ever voted for. I would, as a politics nerd, I would question that. But, maybe she can claim the mantle of being just an everyday person who has, assimilated in the Democratic Party and has become more active, like a lot of people have politically over a period of time, especially in this divisive era that we find ourselves in. But I don't know. I do think this interview makes it more difficult, not less difficult, for her to prevail in a Democratic primary.
Yep. I tell you what, Adam, I appreciate the fact you came on. I think, and we wanted to ask you about, but I don't think we really have time, so we'll just save that for another time.
Oh, we got time.
I'm a captive audience.
Well, let's go.
We got time.
We only got a couple minutes. This whole thing with Jennifer Ruth Green, and I'll be honest with you, I objectively looking at that, I felt bad for you, and I had a theory, and I'm not going to go into my theory. I felt bad for you on that because I thought you got really beat up on something, and I thought it was sort of a political thing.
Yeah, so let's do some real quick background on this, because we wanted to finish the interview with Adam, or our discussion with Adam today on Left to Center on this. And it came out late in the cycle. I want to say like late September, early October. And you did an extensive article for Politico on Jennifer Ruth Green. I think you went through her background in the military. You, I think, took a trip with her on a plane, actually, out of Griffith Airport.
It was a long interview.
You were up in the region in the 1st Congressional District, spent a lot of time with her. And the article came out, and she really took aim at both Congressman Mervan and you personally about the interview. I think, and this is a quote that she had. I saw this on an article. Adam Wren gets his gratification of thinking he's going to get a good smear story out of it, and all it does is essentially reopen wounds for victims. Green insisted that Wren failed to garner the full story of the incident and took her experience and diminished it to a place where he can just say a clinical report of exactly what happened and reduced it to 50 characters. And so like there was some heat, it seemed, at least from the Jennifer Ruth Green campaign towards Politico, towards you, and you had done a very extensive interview with her. What was how did you feel about that as a reporter? And, obviously you can't come out and say a bunch of stuff about it, but how did you feel?
It is a reporter's job to cover events without fear or favor to the person that we're covering. And, I stand by the reporting in the article. You'll note that there's no correction at the bottom of the piece. And I think it's a nuanced piece of journalism that speaks for itself. And her campaign was given a number of opportunities to provide input on the story, which we included before it ran. There were no surprises in the piece. I think no surprise journalism is important. Someone should never be surprised by what you're reporting or writing about them. They should have ample opportunity to shape the story, to make sure that it's accurate as possible. And so it's never fun to go through a media firestorm, but I stand by that reporting, and I think the journalism in it speaks for itself.
Okay. My first impression when I read that article, Adam, and obviously I was following that race closely, I thought it was a really good article. I thought it reflected well on Jennifer. And obviously the whole part about the assault that took place is horrifying, and it's unfortunately way too common in the military for that stuff to happen. I thought overall, though, you did a really good job on that article. I thought it was flattering towards her.
Yeah, I thought it was. It
was factual.
It was the most extensive article I'd read about her,
for sure. And I thought it was overall. I think that and she probably. Of course, she doesn't want the sexual assault written about and talked about. But let me ask you a question. So I ran for U.S. Senate. I ran for Congress. Let's say that in my military record there was something horrible about my performance on the job. And maybe I got an administrative discharge. Maybe something happened that reflected poorly on my career. I find it hard to believe that if I was running for U.S. Senate or U.S. Congress, that if I did something in the military that reflected badly on my career, that wouldn't be part of the game. I think it would be totally fair game for Adam Wren or for Politico or for any reporter for that matter to put my stuff that was in my record out there. I think it's fair game. You're in the military. U.S. military. It's a U.S. military record.
Yeah, I think, her point was that this was something she was victimized of, right? She's a victim of something, not something that she did or chose to do.
Agree.
Yeah. So, but I think, Adam, I'm glad. I was really interested to hear your answer to that. And I was, two things. One, I think it's interesting you mentioned that the campaign had ample opportunity to give input on the article. And two, that you stand by it. And obviously there was no, they didn't pull the article. There was no correction. You're still working for Politico, so I appreciate your response.
Was there ever a time, though, before or after, like you mentioned the firestorm? Everyone watching right now is aware of this. Headlines in our local papers, nationwide, they're on Fox News talking about this. Was there ever a time, Adam, when you thought, I just want to know your perspective during this firestorm, where you thought, maybe I shouldn't have brought up the assault? Or was it?
I'll let the journalism, speak for itself. This is a nuanced story, and I'll let what's on the page do the talking rather than me.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, appreciate you coming on. Right.
Man.
Welcome always on Left to Center.
It's 8:43.
Felt like
local.
It was just a minute.
We usually don't stay on this long, but I hope we did a good job with you, Adam. We like to treat our guests very well when we come on. I think you did an excellent job on the show, and I appreciate you coming back on. So thanks for coming back on Left to Center.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for the questions, and looking forward to the next time. Again, Adam Wren from Politico, from Importantville. Thanks for coming on the show. Good to see you, Adam. And thanks for everybody for listening to Left to Center. It was a long show today. We appreciate you all for listening, and we're coming back on Tuesday. And I don't think we have a special guest, just normal show.
We don't, but next Friday we got Brian Howie.
Yeah, awesome.
And
Great.
Sign up for Importantville so you can see his power ranking article after this episode.
Tom's power rankings.
It's Importantville.
That will be on Importantville.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounded like I was going to be 4 or 5 on it.
He's like, well, I actually had you rated below 5.
I know. He was trying to nicely say I'm at 5, I think, out of that list. So anyway, it was great. I thought it was a great show. And those were tough questions.
Welcome back, Locomotive.
That was definitely tough towards the end. Obviously, nobody wants to talk about, sexual assault and things of that nature. And, Jennifer was a great candidate, and she ran a great race. And
I noticed she's still pretty active.
Oh, I think
she's going to events.
She's not going anywhere.
What do you think's next for her?
I think
maybe she runs against him again.
I agree. I think she runs for a rematch.
But I think Congressman Wren keeps getting stronger. So
okay,
that's my take.
All right.
Okay.
Kevin says Congressman Frank's going to get stronger and Jennifer's going to get weaker. So
I think we're.
I'm going to play this in the future and fact check Kevin. So
well, I think 2024 is. I agree with Adam that I think the Trump brand is starting to wane a little bit, and I think that's going to help.
And she was definitely a big Trumper.
Oh yeah.
So all right, guys, great show. See you on Tuesday. Lock Pod is